You clearly need this room. So do I.
Excuse me? I don't share rooms with strangers.
Neither do I, but tonight, there's no other choice.
What if none of this even matters anymore?
What do you mean?
I'm terrified, Daniel, and I am so tired of pretending I'm not.
The last room he was forced to share a hotel room with his cold CEO. But when she whispered her secret at midnight, everything changed. The snow had been falling for 3 hours without mercy. At the front desk of the Grand Ashford Hotel in downtown Chicago, his carry-on bag at his feet, his laptop bag cutting into his shoulder, and his patience running dangerously thin. Behind him, the lobby buzzed with stranded travelers. Flight cancellations had turned the city's largest airport into a parking lot, and every hotel within a 20-mile radius was either full or absurdly overpriced. He had gotten lucky, barely. One room left, the front desk attendant had said, with the practiced calm of someone who had delivered bad news all evening. King bed, 14th floor, non-refundable. Daniel had handed over his card without hesitation. He was exhausted. He had been in Cincinnati for a 4-day sales conference, and all he wanted was a hot shower, room service, and 8 hours of dreamless sleep before his morning meeting. What he had not expected was the voice behind him. "I'll take that room." He turned. She was already at the counter beside him, appearing from nowhere as if materialized by the storm itself. Tall, late 20s, maybe early 30s, blonde hair pulled into a precise knot at the base of her neck. Not a single strand out of place despite the weather outside. She wore a structured charcoal blazer over a deep red dress, and she carried herself the way people do when they have never once in their lives been told no. Her eyes were ice gray, and right now they were fixed on the attendant with an expression that could have frozen the lobby. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the attendant said carefully. "This gentleman just—" "I need that room," she said. Not rudely, not loudly. Just with absolute, immovable certainty. "I have a board presentation at 7 a.m. I cannot function without sleep. I will pay double." "Ma'am, the reservation has already been processed." Daniel cleared his throat. "I was here first." She looked at him then, really looked at him. The kind of look that scanned, assessed, and categorized in under 2 seconds. He got the sense she had filed him somewhere between minor inconvenience and irrelevant. "Yes," she said simply, "you were." And then she said nothing else. The attendant looked between them with the expression of a man who wanted very badly to be somewhere else. "Sir, your key card is ready. Room 1408. Daniel picked up the card. He looked at the woman beside him, her jaw set, her eyes unreadable, a flicker of something exhausted moving behind all that control. And he made a decision he would spend the rest of the night questioning. "Does the room have a sofa?" he asked the attendant. "A lounge chair, sir, fairly comfortable." Daniel exhaled. "Fine." He looked at her. "You take the bed, I'll take the chair. But I don't want to be disturbed, I don't want conversation, and I want the lights out by 10. She blinked, just once. "Excuse me?" "You clearly need the room, so do I. The hotel is full. It's either this or one of us sleeps in the lobby." He picked up his bag. "I'm Daniel Mercer, Sales Director, Pinnacle Group." A long pause. "Victoria Hale," she said finally. "CEO, Hale Enterprises." He almost dropped his bag. Hale Enterprises. The third largest logistics and supply chain company in the Midwest. The company his firm had been trying to land as a client for 8 months. The woman standing beside him was the reason 3 of his colleagues had flown to meetings, prepared decks, sent follow-up emails that were never answered. And she was about to share a hotel room with him. God help him. Room 1408 was elegant in the way expensive hotel rooms always are. Warm lighting, crisp white linens, a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking a snow-blurred Chicago skyline. Under different circumstances, Daniel would have appreciated it. Victoria moved through the room like she owned it. She set her bag on the luggage rack, removed her blazer with precise movements, and draped it over the back of the desk chair. She did not look at him. Daniel dropped his bag by the lounge chair, which was, as promised, fairly comfortable for someone who was 5'8" and not planning to actually sleep. "Bathroom first?" he offered. "Go ahead," she said without turning around. She was already opening her laptop. He showered quickly, changed into a plain gray t-shirt and sweatpants, and emerged to find her still at the desk, 3 documents open on her screen, a half-eaten granola bar beside her keyboard. She had changed into a silk sleep set, deep burgundy, and her hair was down now, falling past her shoulders in soft waves that made her look unexpectedly human. She did not acknowledge his return. Daniel settled into the lounge chair, pulled a thin blanket over himself, and tried to sleep. He could not. The room was too quiet except for the soft tapping of her keyboard and the occasional sound of wind pressing against the glass. He stared at the ceiling, counted the seconds between her keystrokes, thought about his morning meeting, thought about the irony of the universe placing him 6 feet away from Victoria Hale on the worst night of his professional year. The clock on the nightstand read 11:47 p.m. when the typing stopped. He heard her exhale, long and slow and tired. The sound of someone who had been holding something heavy for a very long time. He kept his eyes on the ceiling. "You should sleep." "I'm aware," she said quietly. "The presentation will still be there in the morning." Silence. Then, "What if it doesn't matter?" He turned his head. She was still at the desk, but she wasn't looking at the screen anymore. She was looking at the window, at the snow falling in the dark, her hands folded in her lap. "What do you mean?" he asked. Another long silence. He thought she wasn't going to answer. He thought she had already retreated back behind whatever wall she lived behind. But then she spoke. "The board is voting Thursday." Her voice was low, controlled, but underneath it something fragile moved. 3 of them want to dissolve the company, sell off the divisions. They think the company peaked under my father, and I've been holding a beautiful corpse together for 2 years. She paused. "Maybe they're right." Daniel sat up slowly. "My father built Hale Enterprises from a single warehouse in Gary, Indiana," she continued, still watching the snow. "He gave 31 years to that company. It was his life. When he handed it to me, he said..." Her voice caught almost imperceptibly. He said, "Don't let them take it apart." She closed her eyes for just a moment. "I have been trying to honor that for 2 years, and I am so tired." The room felt different now, smaller, more honest. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then, "Why are you telling me this?" She turned and looked at him. Really looked at him, the way she hadn't in the lobby. "Because you're a stranger," she said simply, "and I'm very, very tired of pretending I'm not scared." He held her gaze. "You're scared." "Terrified," she said. And the word coming from her, from this woman who had walked into the lobby like a force of nature, landed with the weight of an enormous truth. "I present in," she glanced at the clock, 7 hours and 4 minutes, and I don't know if it's enough. Daniel stood up. He walked to the desk, glanced at the screen. The presentation was polished, visually clean, data-heavy, professionally structured. He looked at it for a long moment. "The data is solid," he said. "But you're opening wrong." She frowned. "I've given 100 presentations. I've sat in on 100 boardrooms," he said. "And when a CEO opens with revenue charts, what the board hears is defense. You need to open with vision, give them somewhere to go, not just a reason to stay." "You're in sales. I'm in persuasion," he said. "Same thing, different room." Something shifted in her expression. Not softness exactly, more like recalibration. "Show me," she said. They worked until 2 a.m. Daniel pulled a chair up to the desk, and they went through the presentation slide by slide. He asked questions, she answered. He pushed back on 2 slides, and she pushed back harder. And somewhere in the arguing they found the shape of something better. She was sharp. Sharper than anyone he had worked with in years. And she moved fast. When she saw a better angle, she took it without ego. At one point she laughed. A real laugh, quick and surprised, at something he said about a particularly tortured pie chart. The sound of it changed the room entirely. By 2:30 she was in the bed and he was back in the lounge chair, and the presentation was the best version of itself. "Daniel," she said quietly in the dark. "Yeah. Thank you." He smiled at the ceiling. "Get some sleep, Victoria." He was gone before she woke up. He left a note on the desk, just a business card with 4 words written on the back in his handwriting. You're going to win. She did. The board voted 4-2 in favor of a 3-year growth strategy with Victoria Hale at the helm. She opened with vision. She gave them somewhere to go. 3 weeks later, Daniel's phone rang. Unknown number, Chicago area code. Pinnacle Group, Daniel Mercer. It's Victoria Hale. A pause. I'd like to discuss bringing your firm on as our national accounts partner, if you are available. He leaned back in his chair, and the smile that crossed his face was slow and certain. Might I buy you coffee? Another pause. Shorter this time. Yes, she said. And he could hear it, underneath the composure, underneath the control, the smallest warmth, like sunlight through a very old window. I think you can. Outside, Chicago was bright and cold and wide open, the kind of morning that felt like a beginning. And for both of them it was, the end.